Hey gamers, in this episode we're going to look at another plot device to use in your story, the red herring. Hey gamers, welcome back to Game Master's Dungeon. I am Brian, your Game Master, and hopefully you're tuning in so you can find out what is a red herring. So, a red herring in storytelling is a device that's used to divert the viewers or the readers, or in our case, as game masters, the players' attentions away from the true subject or suspect. All right. So let's talk about a good example. Okay. Hopefully most of you have seen a movie called The Usual Suspects. Okay. Now there's going to be spoilers for this movie coming up. So if you haven't watched it, turn away now. I will wait. Still here? All right, fantastic. Okay, so in The Usual Suspects, so Kevin Spacey plays this character named Verbal Kint. Right, he's a guy with a limp. He gets called in, to the police station. He's there talking about the story about the night of an explosion. He's giving all these names and details and all this other stuff to the police. And as you watch the movie, it becomes surprisingly more and more complex for us, the viewers. But it turns out in the end that once he's done, he leaves the police station, and one of the detectives realized that most of the details and the names and the things that he was talking about was things around the office or stuff that was in the office itself. So they realized that he had been feeding false information the entire time, which were red herrings themselves. But at the end of the movie, we see him. He goes down the steps and he walks out into the street. And normally he had a limp, but then he stops limping and just walks away. Normally, and then the police go out there looking for a man with a limp. They don't see anyone, and he gets away scot-free. And the limp itself could be a red herring as well. So as you see, as we're writing our stories, if we want to give evidence or we want to give information, but we don't want it to point directly to what it's supposed to point at. If you want to divert the player's attention, make it seem that way. Introduce something else that's similar to what it is they're looking at, but it's a little more enticing. It's a little more tasty. Now, why would we want to use that in a story that we're writing? Well, obviously, so let's say we're playing Mutants and Masterminds, right? And the players are on the hot trail of the villain, and they're uncovering information and evidence, and they're interrogating the thugs, and they're getting all this information, and pretty soon it's going to point directly to our villain, who's maybe hiding in plain sight. It's one of the people on the team, one of the NPCs around, that the players know or interact with on a regular basis. Well, maybe we're not to the point yet where we want to divulge that information, where we want to make that surprise. Well, we're going to produce someone or something else, which you would also want to plan in your story as well. Have something else in there that's similar to, but not quite, what it is the players would be looking for, but it's a little more enticing. So they're going to be looking at, instead of looking at, person A, person B over here. This has got to be it. Well, then you can have these whole series of sessions going after this person, then they realize it's not that person. And then you could reveal the villain or make something like that. I believe that red herrings are very important in your story. First of all, because you don't want players just led around by the nose and, they're discovering thing after thing after thing after thing, right? Have something in there that maybe is going to throw them off, because once they're thrown off the trail, then you could make the big surprise. And I know in my games, when my players are surprised, they really remember those sessions. All right, gamers. So that was a quick video on what red herrings are, a good example of, and why you would want to use them in your story. Now remember, you're going to put this all together with all of the other plot devices we're talking about, and the ones we will talk about in the near future. And if you're going to want to see those, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. It'll help support the channel. If you like this video, hit that like button. Also, follow me over on Twitter at GameMastersDone1. And also, I'd love for you guys to come over and join me on my Discord server. Link will be in the description below. We have several subscribers over there. We're having some great conversations about a lot of different topics. I would love to see you all over there and all interact together. And we can put our heads together and come up with some great ideas for some games. So with that said, until I see you again in the dungeon, I'm Brian, your Game Master, and happy gaming.